Earlier this year in February, from the 12th to the 19th, I was able to go on a missions trip to Mexico. Where we went was we went to a children's home called Resplendor de Vida, and it's right inside the border. You can see there's El Paso, Texas, and then there's Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, and it's right outside of there, kind of in the middle of the desert. And there's the children's home right there, the bigger building. And everything has walls in Mexico, so it's just not even necessarily because places are hostile, it's just because that's their culture, and everybody just has a wall to show what's theirs. So the big building, that's the children's home, and the littler one is what we call the American side, and that's just where anybody that's going on the missions trip stays. So we stayed there, and then you can see the little path in between. When we go from the American side to the children's home, we just walk on the path, and it takes not even 5 minutes to get over there. So Resplendor de Vida, that's the inside. There you can see the children's home. What they do there is they have all the kids from around that maybe they can't go to regular school, or maybe their parents can't take care of them, not necessarily because they're even bad parents, maybe just because their situation, if it's a single mother or a grandmother watching after the kids, if they're not able to take care of them full time, then they'll send them to the school for the week. And they only stay there on the week, and they go home on the weekends. But there's also some kids that they drive out on a bus, and they pick up every single day, and then they bring them home. But it's mostly just the kids that stay at the school during the week. So, and here's my team that I went down with. There was 19 of us that came from Calvary Chapel, Seneca Falls, and this was the first time that we were all together as a group. And you can see us there, and then in the middle of the week, on Saturday, I believe it was, because we went from Wednesday to Wednesday, we had about 10 more people that came in and they joined us. So we made one big team, and you can see us all over there. You might be worried, random new people, you might be worried, oh my gosh, how am I supposed to connect with them? How are we supposed to work together? But you can see there we work pretty well together, and we can all be weird together, and we get along very well, and we work as one big family. Some things we do as a team is we make breakfast together every single morning. And on the picture over there, you can see that's us at the children's home. One night we made supper for everybody, for all the people that help, and for all of us missionaries, and also for all the kids that stay there. Some other things that we do as a team is every night when we're done with everything, before we go to bed, we'll do our little debrief, and you can tell this is the end of the day because everybody looks really tired. But we'll do our debrief, and we'll just talk about our day, and usually we'll go individually to talk about what we did that day. And over there you can see us kind of just hanging out, and we do that a lot too in the common area there at the American side. We did also go out to eat one night with everybody when the new team got here. That was just kind of their introduction to our team. So that's everybody all together, and then we rode from the Mexican side to the American side one time on a wagon, and almost fell off, but nobody did. And one thing that I wanted to include that a lot of people might not include is our travel to Mexico. Most people just think of it as a way to get there, but it was really important because, as you can see here, this is before we even left. We met at the school while it was still dark out before we went to Mexico or even the airport. We met all up there, and then we prayed for God to bless our trip and for everything to go well. I was so scared to fly. I do not like heights, but I say that it's a miracle of God that I was able to stay calm the entire time. And I had everybody near me, but the scenery was amazing from the plane, and I just wanted to include those. And we had a huge layover in Vegas, so this is what we did pretty much the whole time. We all sat on the floor and played Uno, and we walked around the airport some. But one thing that they said before we even left was the missions trip doesn't start when we get in Mexico. It starts as soon as you walk out of the door. And it's a good thing that they said that, because then we were prepared, because we were actually able to witness to some people in the Las Vegas airport. like we were able to talk to them, like have full conversations, and it wasn't just one, there was like at least 5 people there that we were able to, and I thought that was really cool. So once we got to Mexico, the first day we were there, we got right to work. You can see us moving a lot of dirt here, and that's what I did pretty much all week, is I moved lots and lots of dirt voluntarily. I loved it. You can see we're filling in around that tank over there. We filled everything in. There was a pit that was about, probably if I were to stand in it, up to here. So we've worked on filling that in, and you can see there it's all filled in. I believe that's by the end of the week, judging by how tired everybody looks. Some other things that people did, we had a lot of boards to paint. You can see all of them painted there. You can see Aaron there painting more. There were some people that did lots of painting, some people that did lots of digging. In Mexico, there's really a job for everybody. Here was a fun little thing here. So you can see that a couple people in the first one were digging a hole right there because we were going to put a light post in there, so then when the kids are playing out back, because this is on the Mexican side, so when the kids are playing out back, playing soccer, they can play at night and they can actually be able to see what they're doing. So the hole was about to be 4 feet deep. When we hit about 3.5 feet deep, we hit the leaching line for the sewer, and things just start like filling up, and we're like, great, we still have half a foot to go. There's us when we discovered what's happening, the looks of complex confusion. Like, what are we going to do? But the Lord did provide, and we did get it done, and that's them putting the light post in, and that's it at night. It's a lot better lit than it was before, and you can see everything. So they lit that on the last night that we were there, and it was a really cool thing to see our progress. Another thing that we did in Mexico, we did despensas, which is where we take, you can see in here we're putting things in bags. I believe we had corn and beans and flour. Maybe not corn, rice. Yeah, rice, beans, and flour. So we had those 3 things, and we'd put them in bags, and then we'd put 1 bag of each thing into a plastic bag, and then we'd carry those around in the colonia, which is settlements that people have built out of practically nothing. Like, you can see some fences built out of like box springs for mattresses, and some people have literally like pallets and stuff that they've found around the desert as their homes that they're living in. So we take bags of those and we walk around the colonia, and we give them, like, we knock on doors and then we give them to people. And we also have like hygiene bags, as we call it, with just like soap and hygiene products in it that we can give people if they would like it. And we also have like a little kids version, which we gave out a lot of those, and they got like little bath toys and coloring things in it. And so they really liked that. There's a picture of us actually out doing despensas. So, excuse me. The way that works is we have at least one Spanish-speaking person with us. So they'll talk to the people that are like in the colonia that live there. And we basically carry things for them, and we give them things. We have some people that, even like some of us teenagers, we go and we pray for the people, and a lot of the Spanish-speaking people that translate for us back and forth, a lot of them don't translate the prayers because that's really something that speaks on its own, and they don't believe that it needs to be translated because God hears it either way. And if it's a true prayer, then if God wants to, he can touch someone with that. They don't need to know what you said, really. But despensas was one of my favorite things to do because I just really loved being able to connect with the people that weren't just at the school. So the kids, they're a huge deal when you go to Mexico. You spend so much time with the kids. We eat dinner every night with the kids, and a lot of nights we play soccer with them, as you can see in that picture. And we, share our sunglasses with the kids. They love that kind of stuff. We give them our hats, stuff like that. Some of the girls like to do our hair and put stickers on our face and paint our nails. You can see in this one they're painting nails, and they even painted Mr. Davis's nails because he willingly let them do it. And then he was confused. Why isn't it coming off? So he had to walk around with pink nail polish for the rest of the trip. It was amazing. But the kids loved it so much. So one thing that we did with the kids, we were down there on Valentine's Day, and in Mexico they call it Love and Friendship Day. So we did an entire party or fiesta for them, and we played a ton of games. This was an event where their parents could come in and do the games with them. And if their parents couldn't make it in, then one of us Americans would basically adopt them for the day. So each of us had our little kid that we'd be bringing around to different stations, and we'd play a bunch of games like that, and it was really fun. And they even brought in a mechanical bull. You got everybody in the whole place lined up to go on the mechanical bull. I've never seen one of those in a party in America, just saying. Another thing that we did with them, we did 2 days of VBS later in the week. 2 different locations we did it at. We did it at the children's home, and then we went to a different church by a different city. That was so fun. We did a lot of stuff with them, and here you can see us practicing for our skit, because we did a little skit of Noah's Ark for them. I couldn't get an actual picture of the skit, but that's a practice. That's pretty much the gist of it, and it was really fun. I got to be a cow, shocking, because I have a cow print blanket. That was just a really fun experience, and the kids loved it. We also did crafts. That's what I did. I personally helped them with a lot of crafts. You can see me there and over there. It was really fun to try to connect with them, and because I don't speak much Spanish at all, that's also another thing that you really don't need when you go with this mission trip, because there's enough Spanish-speaking people and that everybody understands that not everybody can speak Spanish when they come down. So I was able to improve on my Spanish skills and improvise. I couldn't remember the word for scissors, so you just go like that, and they understand that you're saying scissors. But it was such a fun experience to be able to help the kids with their crafts and everything. And they're like, here, you do the crafts. And I'm like, no, I got to help you guys. But we also did some games. We got one of those giant parachutes, and they loved that. They were all over that. We did bake sales for our basketball games, and the money that we got from that went towards the parachute. So anybody that contributed to that, thank you, because they loved the parachute. And on Sunday morning, one thing we did, this was before we went to church, we went to a barbacoa, and we got what we thought were tacos. They were cow cheek tacos, or cow tongue, one or the other. And, of course, our entire team didn't tell us until after we ate them. They're like, by the way, you just ate cow tongue. It was actually surprisingly really good, though. I'd go back for seconds, even if I did know. But there's all of us in there. It's this is with both teams. So there was lots and lots of people, but once again, you can just see how we're all mingled in together and everybody got along. And then after that, we went to church. You think church in America is loud? You are wrong. You can't even hear yourself think. The music is so loud. I loved it so much. And they encourage you to put your hands out and put your hands up and just invite the Holy Spirit in. And it was an amazing experience. And then the pastor, his name is Pastor Nacho, he did his entire sermon about being a good friend, and that was a really good thing, and they translated it and everything. But church was an amazing experience. You can see in that picture that's everybody afterwards, because they had burritos afterwards, so we all had our burritos and everything. And then another thing we did on Sunday after church, we went to a candy store, and then we went to an ice cream place, and that was really fun. I spent way too much money. But yeah, so of course the weekend does have to come to an end, which to me is by far the hardest part, because I didn't want to leave, personally. But they do make a really fun time out of it. We do a bunch of games. This was a game where they'd say in Spanish, up or down, and then you had to stand up or down, and then they'd say right or left, and then you have to go right or left. And it was really hard they did Americans versus the Mexican kids. And it's really hard because none of us knew Spanish. So we had to figure out these entirely new words, and then they switched it. So then you have to go the opposite way, just as we learned what we're doing. But I can proudly say that I was the last American to last. There was still a bunch of Mexican kids, because they actually understand what they're saying. But it was so fun. And then we did a bunch of games with them then, too. And we did musical chairs. And a few of us got really into it. And people were, like, dancing and everything. Like, it was really fun time. And then since we had our nice new light up, we could actually see the playground. And we got to, like, go on the seesaws and the swings with the kids. And the kids just loved it. And we also had a bit of a bonfire, too, and s'mores, which was also really good. But saying goodbye is always the hardest part. But the trip is still so worth it because you learn so much. And there's my friend Laura saying goodbye. Because at the end, when everybody's saying goodbye, like all the kids go around in a circle. Everybody stands at the walls, and the kids go around in a giant circle and hug everybody. And it's the sweetest thing ever. And then, of course, you'll have some kids that you get more attached to and you spend more time to. And that was the case with them. And I just wanted to talk about some stuff that I personally learned from Mexico, because everybody learns something different, and sometimes you don't even know what you learned. But a huge thing for me was I did not want to go to Mexico. I had known that I was supposed to go since last year, because they gave the whole presentation at Calvary Chapel about their entire trip last year, and I heard God telling me, you need to go to Mexico. And the human part of me goes, what? No, that's crazy. I'm not doing that. I'm not getting on a plane and leaving my mother for a week. So I'm like, put that off for months, and then you get busy, and I forgot about it until something happened at school where I had to start taking a Bible class so that I could play sports so I could be eligible. And every single Bible class that I went to, I could feel the Lord telling me in something different. You need to go to Mexico. You need to go to Mexico. And then there was one day where our principal, who teaches Bible class, he said one of the biggest regrets that he has was not taking the opportunity to go on a missions trip when he was our age. And that just really hit me. So I went and I talked to him, and he gave me people I can talk to. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to Mexico. And I was so scared up until the second we got there. Even in the airport, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. And it was just a huge thing. I was so scared. But then by the end of the week, I didn't want to leave. And the fact that I didn't want to leave was crazy to me because I hadn't wanted to go. But I learned that it's really important to follow God and what he's telling you to do, even if you don't understand it. And one more thing that I learned was, as I spent the week in Mexico, and I couldn't communicate with anybody, and I'd have to run off and get somebody, hey, what did they just say? I have no idea what's happening. I did learn to speak some Spanish, but one thing that I did learn that will stick with me forever, I know, is that the love of Christ is something that you don't even need to speak the same language to share, because it speaks on its own. So you can still connect with these kids or with the people in Mexico that you're trying to minister to with just the love of Christ, because that is something that is universal. But that's all I have, and if anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them now or after. Definitely, I'm definitely going to go again. All right, thank you, everybody.